I remember hearing a story years ago, and it was this old man, and he was sitting on his porch, and he had this old dog that was sitting next to him, and the dog was just howling. And a friend of his came to visit him, and he said, "Why is your dog howling?" And the old guy just nonchalantly, he said, "Oh, because he's laying on a nail." And his friend was like, "A nail? Like, why doesn't he move?" And the old guy was like, "Because it doesn't hurt bad enough." And that's exactly how some of us are. We stay broke. We stay in financial crisis. We stay in money misery because it doesn't hurt bad enough. And just like me, maybe it might take you to find leverage outside of yourself, because the sad reality is that sometimes we'll do more for people outside of us than we'll do for us. For transparency, I have children. There's been time where I would do things for my children that I won't do for myself. I would sacrifice food for myself, for my children. And yeah, that might be honorable to a certain extent, but sometimes it unconsciously communicates that you're not enough. They are, but you're not. And so sometimes we might have to find leverage outside of ourselves, because we conveniently use ourselves to stay stuck in situations, and we conveniently use other people to take action and get results for other people that we won't get for ourselves. Like, there are so many people where they've never had a savings in their life. Like, they've never had a savings in their life. But somehow their family member needs $900 within 2 days. Even though this person does not have a savings, they have no money at all, they figure out some kind of way to get 900 more dollars than they currently have for their family member. But they couldn't go and get the $900 to put into their savings. And so sometimes we have to find leverage. I don't know what that is for you. For me, it's my children. It's my wife and my children. And so for you, figuring out who can you use as leverage in a positive way. Like, okay, I have to go get wealth to not let them down. And hear what I'm saying. When I'm saying wealth, sometimes people make this big mistake of thinking that wealth means you have to make $10 million a month, and you have to be no, that's not wealth. That's not wealth. Because sometimes it doesn't take that much. Like, the reality is this: most people that want to be wealthy, for them to truly get to their level of wealth, does not even take the amount of money that they desire and aspire to have. It doesn't take that much. And I don't know what that is for you, but I just want to encourage you to find your leverage. Find your family or friends or whoever that you feel like, look, I have to do this for them, not even for yourself. Because apparently, for a lot of us, including myself, when I was at that place, because we don't have money, us using ourselves as leverage, it doesn't work, or else we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in. So sometimes the only thing that you can do to get out of a situation is identify where you are in the current and figure out, what do I have to do to get from where I am to where I want to be. And sometimes it takes you leveraging other people and doing something for them that you might not do for yourself, until you get the belief that you're worth doing it for. And I tell you, language is really, really important. And sometimes it's like we stay stuck and we stay broke because of the way that we think, from the perspective that we think that, um, pursuing money is evil, and pursuing money is selfish. And so often it's like we have this tug of war with wealth. We have this tug of war with money, where we want it, but we don't want to be perceived as being greedy. We don't want to be perceived as being evil. We don't want to be perceived as somebody who stepped on somebody else to get what they have, but they hurt somebody in the process. And here's the reality. A lot of times, we hear these different songs and these sayings, and we convince ourselves that more money means more problems. And when we truly believe that, why would we ever pursue more money? Think about it. No, because nobody wants problems. None of us want problems. So if we think that more money equals more problems, guess what we're not doing? We're not pursuing more money, because that means that more money equals more problems. And I don't know about you, but I don't want problems like that. And so when we convince ourselves that more money equals more problems, we're like, you know what? I'm better off not having it. We convince ourselves that we're better off not having it, because at least I'm comfortable with what I have. I know how things are going. But if I get this money, then that's when the unknown is being introduced. And we hear all of these different negative sayings that reinforce a poverty mentality, that more money equals more problems. And then we see somebody super wealthy in the news, and then we like, you know what? That's a reference point. Like, that's evidence right there that more money equals more problems. But here's what we fail to realize. When you're poor, nobody really pays you any attention. Like poor people have problems every single day and nobody cares. Nobody knows about it because they're poor, unfortunately. Now they're still a person, they still have value. They're just poor from a financial perspective. But when you take somebody who's super wealthy, everybody's interested in what they're going to do. And here's the sad reality. A lot of people are cheering on their downfall because they secretly are jealous of them and they secretly feel like these people don't deserve to have what they have. And sometimes people spend more energy and effort on hating about somebody else's wealth than using that same energy to create their own. Because it's not that wealthy people are bad, it's bad people are bad. It has nothing to do with their wealth. Because no matter who you are, if you're good when you get more money, you're just going to be a better person. But if you're a bad person, you get more money, you're just going to be a worse person. Money does not define who you are, it just amplifies who you already are. Like it doesn't change you. Money does not change you, it just amplifies who you already are. And so when we convince ourselves that more money equals more problems, then there's no universe in which we live in where we're ever going to pursue more money because who wants to ever have more problems? And so the thing that I want to encourage you to do is upgrade your belief. Maybe if you need to upgrade, because maybe you don't, maybe things are great. But if you ever thought to yourself, I'm bad with money, or if you've ever thought to yourself that more money equals more problems, or if you've ever thought to yourself that, you know what, you have to work hard for money, because you don't have to be lazy to not want to work hard. Because I'll tell you this, I am not lazy by any stretch of the imagination. I don't want to work hard. I want to work right. And when you think about, there's a lot of people that work extremely hard and they work hard and they're still broke. And it's because of how they think. Because sometimes thinking is the hardest job that most people never do. Because when you just give yourself time to think about ways where you can make a lot of money in a shorter period of time, you might get better results with making money than if you work somewhere really hard constantly. Hear me out. I'm not saying that people should never work hard, because you have to do what you got to do in the moment. But what I'm saying is this: a lot of times people are deceived into thinking that time is money and that you have to work hard to get money and that more money equals more problems. And all of those things are contradictory. And people that believe them, it causes internal conflict to just spill over into their lives and spill over into their bank account, because there's so much conflict around getting more money. Because guess what? When we get more money, we're going to have more problems. If we want money, we have to work hard for it. And so when we think about these different lies that we've been told, that even the lie about money is time. Sometimes people stay broke and they waste a lot of their life because they're like, because time equals money, because of all of this time that passed by, there's going to be some time in the future where all of the money that I didn't get because of all of this time that passed, I'm going to now get it on the other side. It's just a matter of time. That's why people play the lottery, because they figure like all of this 5 years, 10 years, 20 years that passed where I've been broke, my whole life I didn't have money, because time equals money. It's only a matter of time before I hit the lottery to make up for all of this time that had passed by where I did not get the money. And that's a deception, because time does not equal money. And here's how I can prove that to you. If somebody right now was willing to give you $1 million, and the only stipulation was you had to end your life today, you're not taking that money, because all of the things that you would use the money for, you can't use it anymore because you're not here. So that's a prime example of how time does not equal money. Time is infinitely more valuable than money is. And it's like when we understand that, we'll use our time differently. And a lot of times people stay stuck broke because they waste the most valuable resource that we have, which is time, and they deceive themselves into thinking, I have tomorrow, I'll do it later. And we don't. And guess what? I've been there before, where I say I'm gonna do something and I don't do it. And guess what? That just keeps me 1 week, 1 month, 1 year pushing my wealth back, because I'm choosing poverty over prosperity. And that's what a lot of us do, and it keeps us stuck. And when it comes to our belief system, like that's the thing that is really critical, important for us to upgrade because when we upgrade our belief system, a lot of the lies that we're told, we'll stop believing them. And when you stop believing things, you do things differently. It's like, what we say is what we see. So we have to be very careful what we listen to because a lot of time we repeat things that we hear, and that causes us to see a certain thing as we see it, not as it is. Because sometimes we don't realize that we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. And because of how people see the world, it keeps them stuck and it keeps them broke and it keeps them broken. And I don't know about you, but I think there's a better way. I think there's an easier way. I think there's a simpler way. And I think there's a faster way. And a large part of getting to the faster, more effective, prosperous, wealthy path is leaving all the lies behind, upgrading your belief system, and figuring out what valuable resource can you bring to the marketplace to be financially compensated for it because you have something of value no matter who you are, especially in this day and age. Because a lot of times we think that the market is oversaturated, there's no more room for me, whatever that might be. And that's just a story that we tell ourselves that. I told my story about for years. And guess what? It was only a story. And so when it comes to getting out of poverty and not being broke, one of the first things that is important for you to understand is becoming the person who has money, becoming a person who has wealth, becoming a person who's comfortable with having six figures, becoming the person who's not impressed by having this amount of money in their bank account. Because when you just expect it, it's no longer something that impresses you. It immediately becomes a standard. And that's really all it comes down to. When you raise your standard, it doesn't matter what's going on in the world. It doesn't matter what's going on in the economy. It doesn't matter what's going on in the government. It doesn't matter who's in office. It does not matter because your standard supersedes all of it. Because if you have a low standard, but you have all the resources around you in the world, you're never going to leverage it. But if you have a high standard, if you have no resources whatsoever, there's nothing that can stop you. And so I want to encourage you to upgrade your standard and truly believe that you have the ability, and more importantly, that abundance is your birthright. Wealth is something you're supposed to have, and broke is a state of mind, and it's only something that you're temporarily overcoming. So when you think about being broke versus overcoming a cash flow problem, it's totally different. And I want you to think about you might be in a process where you're overcoming a money problem, but you're not broke. And you're not somebody who's always broke, but you're somebody who's really wealthy. You just haven't got your money yet. Somebody else has your money in their pocket. They're just holding it for you temporarily. Like it's not a negative thing, but you're going to provide some kind of service, some kind of business, or something to them where you're going to exchange your gifts and talent, skills and abilities for all of that money that they have that they're just holding for you. And understand that it can happen a lot quicker than you think, especially when you upgrade your belief system and you upgrade your standard.